Hello beautiful people, how are you doing today? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're making Ofe Onugbu, that's bitter leaf soup. Very delicious, absolutely flavor packed, and I just want to get started on this one. If you do like this video after watching it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and if this is your first time coming across my channel, I do hope that you will join us. So let's get started. To start, we need to prep all our ingredients, and I want to let you in on a secret to add more flavor to your Ofe Onugbu. Use yellow peppers and add fresh uziza seeds to your Ofe Onugbu. You're going to love the result. These have more flavors in them and will add to the flavor of your dish. I will also add atarodo, blend everything together and set it aside. To thicken this soup, we need ede. This is like tiny cocoyam, which is used for thickening Ofe Onugbu. This is 500 naira worth of ede, and I have washed and cleaned this. I will just throw it in the pot with water as it is and boil. I have cleaned them properly. There's no need to peel before boiling, and I love that it is so easy to get the skin off after it is done boiling, and you will see that. This took about 10 to 15 minutes and it is very well boiled now. As you can see, the fork is going in through very easily. So I will take it off the heat and let it cool a bit to the level where my hands can handle them. A few minutes later, they are now cool and I will just easily peel off the skin, as you can see. If you like this recipe, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you're coming across this channel for the first time. Originally, a mortar is used to mash the ede till it becomes like paste-like before adding it to the soup. But to make that seamless for me, I used my raw power blender to blend these very smooth. That is done, I'll set it aside. Now to the leaves. I have bitter leaves here, and these have been sitting on the countertop for some 3 days so that they can wither. For Ofe Onugbu, you need the leaves to be wilted. You know how the leaves in bitter leaf soup look? They do not shred into very tiny pieces, and if the leaves are not wilted while you're washing, they will shred into really tiny pieces. And to process this, after they have wilted, I will boil the leaves for just 5 minutes. This method also helps to get rid of the bitterness in bitter leaves very quickly, so you do not have to wash for too long. If you're enjoying this video, please give me a thumbs up and leave a nice comment for me in the comment section. Thank you. Alright, I'll take it off the heat now and run some cold water over it and wash. By the time I wash twice, this should be good. Please note that you do not have to rid the leaves completely of the bitterness. It is bitter leaf soup for a reason, so do not wash out the bitterness completely. Make sure there is still a tiny bit of bitterness remaining on the leaves. Yeah, so I gave this a taste and I think I'm okay with the bitterness. Alright, with all of that out of the way, it's time to boil the beef, which we'll be using to cook Ofe Onugbu. I'm using beef, and immediately I will add stockfish because they take long to cook as well and I need them very soft. I added a bit of onions and 2 stock cubes and some salt. I will cover this to simmer for a few minutes before I add water. About 3 minutes later, I will give this a stir and add more water to properly cook the beef. If I told you that the 2 stock cubes and salt I added from the start was all I needed to cook this soup, I'm telling you, I did not add any other thing and the soup was so tasty. All the other ingredients I added contributed to how tasty this soup ended up, and it was so good. And that's how it is for a lot of my soups. I just make sure that I get a rich stock and I use that to finish up my soup. But if you do feel like you need more for yours, please feel free to add. That was Ponmo I added. I also added some dried Bonga fish, which I already deboned. I'll let this cook for another 10 to 15 minutes. Ten minutes later, most of the water is gone, and I will introduce the peppers and uziza seeds which we blended earlier on and add more water to cook this soup proper. I'm making about 2 liters of soup, and I think that this quantity of water should do. If I do need more later after adding the paste, I'll add some. And that's Cameroon pepper for flavor and more heat. I also added some palm oil. I'll cover this to cook for say 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, I'll taste and see if it needs any adjustment, but thankfully there is none to add. So I added some crayfish, lots of it for this soup, yes. At this point, I'll introduce the cocoyam paste which we blended earlier on too. Just enough to thicken the soup. I'll add some and stop to see if I have enough after I let this boil for a few minutes. If it does need more, I will add it. You want to make sure not to add too much, as this soup gets really thick when it's cold or when it cools. Yeah, so just go easy with the thickening, the paste for thickening. And this is the thickness after it has boiled for some 5 minutes. Now please don't skip this ogili seed. This is very important for this soup. I added about a teaspoon and it took the soup to a whole new level of flavor. I love it. So I just worked that into the soup, and I think that it was too thick at this point, so I added a bit more water. It is now a good time to add the bitter leaves I washed earlier on. And I also tried to remove the mid region of the leaf that is usually sometimes annoying. So I have added enough for this soup and stirred it in. I will let this simmer for say 5 minutes and this soup should be done. If you're still watching at this point, I'd like to say thank you so much, and I want you to not go without giving me a thumbs up. We are not done yet, we're almost done. In a few more seconds we will be out of here. My first encounter with bitter leaf soup was when I was pregnant with my first child, and it was at a restaurant. I enjoyed it so much. It was my husband who introduced me to the soup, and I had fallen in love with it since then. This soup, it is the flavor that keeps calling me. I love the flavor a lot. It is so good, and I enjoy it with either fufu or pounded yam. So you can enjoy yours with fufu, pounded yam, even eba if you like. At this point, about 5 minutes after adding the bitter leaves, I had turned off the heat, and this is just residual heat doing its job. Alright my people, Ofe Onugbu, that's bitter leaf soup, is ready to be enjoyed. I love this a lot, and I think that I should make yours following this recipe. If you do try this, please tag me on Instagram and share to your story at foodieremrem. I will leave that in the description box and the details of every ingredient I used for this soup. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you with another amazing recipe. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, comment and like and share to your loved ones. Take care of you. Bye bye.